Hello and welcome to our new series which is going to be over the summer, which is called Let's Discuss, where we're going to be talking about a variety of West Ham topics which are quite broad, and we want your opinion at the end of it, and I'll be telling you how just right then. Now we're here to talk about three fringe players, three players that didn't quite live up to their expectations when they joined West Ham. They've all been linked with a move away to West Ham, but do want to sell them. Mike, let's chat about the first one. Let's talk about Nordveit. What did you make of him last season?
I thought he had, let's call it a mixed season and be kind. He was played out of position for most of the time. He's either played at a centre half or he's played on as a right back. A few times he played actually in his preferred position of being a defensive midfielder. A couple of those games, I thought he was really good.
You think so? You think he got a raw deal overall?
I think he got a very raw deal overall. Okay, there's plus and minus points about him as a player, but actually, I think he got a really raw deal. Yeah, very much so.
Tom, were you disappointed in him, or?
I think it's a difficult one because I think personally for myself, when he was at Borussia Mönchengladbach the year before, I think he was captain ahead of Xhaka, who had cost 33 million, similar sort of positions, and we seemed to be getting the captain of that team on a free, and there was that sort of expectation that he could fill a role if need be at centre back, and he was quite versatile with the right back. But unfortunately for him, he was played out of position so many times we probably didn't really see the best of him. But it was a shame because the best games that he had at the end of the season when he was actually playing in his natural defensive midfield role just in front of that back four, and as Mike alluded to, I think he was absolutely excellent in those games that we saw him there. It's just a shame that we probably didn't get to see him as much in that role as we'd liked.
Liverpool though, he was in there with Fernandes against Liverpool, and that was possibly the worst centre midfield pairing I've seen at West Ham in a long time though, Tom, and he was half that problem.
He was, and it's I guess you could sort of argue that everybody seemed to be on the beach in that game. It wasn't just one player that was playing bad, but I also don't think having Fernandes as a centre mid running mate it helped him as well. I think we saw him play a lot better when he was paired up with either Kouyaté or Noble in the middle of the park, and like I said, I think a lot of players have been played out of position, but I think that Liverpool game sort of was a whole team performance rather than individual.
Well, he's coming for some critics over here for his performance at West Ham. Like, there's a lot of German teams looking to take him back overseas. Would you be looking to offload him in the summer, or do you think it's too much too soon?
I think he's a young guy to start with, yeah? He's definitely worth hanging on to for at least another season. I think Tom's right. I mean, basically, that Liverpool game, I think you can put down as the entire team just didn't turn up for that game. I think it's really wrong just to label him as a failure in that game. The few times other than that game he's played in that central midfield holding role, he's looked really good, I think. I think it's an area that it's easy to say we're well staffed in, but we're not in reality. You need a squad. We've got cup competition, you've got the Premier League, it's a long league. We will need, if we sell him, we will have to replace him. We would have to get somebody else in, to take up that squad place. I think he's the best man for the job. Selling him just seems a backward step to me.
Is he arguably our best defensive midfielder? I don't consider Obiang to be a defensive midfielder. I think he's sort of a complete centre mid, same with Noble, maybe with Czech as well. He's the box to box. So is Nordveit actually our best defensive midfielder?
Exactly. I mean, you've cleared it all up. It leaves him as the main defensive midfielder, and I think probably his best game for us was the Everton game that he played at centre defensive mid. I think.
I want to say Spurs. I'm not sure. I want to say maybe he played in there against Spurs. But I'm not sure. But Everton as well, Swansea maybe. He definitely one of the big games here. He definitely played a massive role.
Yeah, and I think as well, like you said, I don't see Obiang as an out-and-out defensive midfielder. I think he has that capability, with interceptions and stuff. But you've seen actually going forward as well this season, he's been brilliant. And Nordveit for me, we almost sometimes need Kouyaté's legs and energy, and that's wasted sometimes when he's played further back, either as a centre back or defensive midfield role. So, like you said, you strip it and you get to the bare bones, and Nordveit is probably our best defensive midfielder at the club.
Is this where Bilic needs to use him as a defensive midfielder and actually change tactics to suit, etc.? So we're playing a big club. We have a designated defensive midfielder. He plays Nordveit instead of trying to shoehorn Noble and Obiang in there to keep them happy. He actually needs to say, you're out, Nordveit, you're in, and give him a bigger role in the squad next year.
I think so. I think you nailed it. I think ultimately, if you look at the team as a whole, and if you look at how the team operates tactically, it seems to be a bit like when you first discover milk chocolate as a kid. You go, all you want is milk chocolate until you're sick of it. And we were a bit like that tactically. We're going to play 3 at the back. We're just going to do that until it breaks down, and then we go back to a 4 at the back. And that breaks down, we go back to a 3. We need to be a little bit more selective of what we do tactically, and that's where Norwood fits in for me. There are some games where you don't really need that kind of player, possibly in that position. The centre mids can carry it on their own, but sometimes you really need to have that player sat right there in front of the central defenders, mopping up, and he's ideal for it. Also, the other thing is, not only is he good at doing that, he can actually use the ball when he gets it. So if you want to play out of defence, he's a really good player for that. He gives a really good option for the centre halves to offload the ball onto and move the whole team up the pitch quickly.
Mike's keeping him. Are you keeping him, or would you try and offload him in the summer?
Do you know what? I think he is a number of players that I think has had a harsh crack at the whip, so to speak, this year. And I think it would be wrong to justify him on some of his performances this season. Obviously, he's been one of a number of players. I think what you said there was absolutely spot on in regards to it's actually down to Slaven Bilic now to play him in that bright position and actually to get the best out of him. And I think if we're going to keep him and play him as a central defensive midfielder, by all means, I like Mike said, you need to keep that position in the squad, and being our best defensive midfielder, or so to speak, I'd definitely be in favour of keeping him this summer.
Well, we probably won't have to discuss the next 2 as much, because we've seen plenty of them. We know more about them, because these guys have had would you say Figuli's had a fairer share? He's only sort of had to play in his natural position, which is right wing. What do you make of him, Mike?
He blows hot and cold for me. For Figuli, you have to look at the whole team. I think our team is wildly overbalanced to the right wing. It's like a UKIP convention out there. Do you know what I mean? We've got a lot of right wingers hanging around. We do. We've just got great strength. And we have complete lack of balance to the left, where we always seem to be playing someone out of position on the left-hand side. Why have we got all of these players banging around who really want to play on the right wing? And if you start to rank who would be your first team pick, and then put in who could fill in if that player's injured, and then you've got Figuli for me. Do you know what I mean? That's where he sits for me.
I kind of know your opinion on him, but this guy, he irritated you a lot last season in some performances. Are you still concerned about his work ethic?
It's so difficult, because I remember, and when we did our pre-season picks, I said that he was the signing I was most looking forward to seeing, because I know Gary Neville has spoke so highly of him in Valencia, and he said that as a young winger, this boy has the potential to be the real deal. And I'd always heard good things of him, but like Mike said, he blows hot and cold really bad quite a lot of the time. And in spouts, we've seen that game against Liverpool where he comes on and all of a sudden can change the entire complexion of a game, and he just adds that something. But in some games, he just looks like he can't be bothered.
Would you agree with me that I think his best performances, when he has looked okay, it's always when he comes on as an impact sub?
Yeah, I do agree, yeah.
I actually think he looks better when he's given a main role, when Antonio's not on the team, when it's such and such, so he has to do more. I think when Antonio, Ayew and all that's in the team, he doesn't get the ball as much, and he's sort of seen as the 11th man.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, well, this is
Burnley away last game of the season. I thought he showed.
Oh yeah, we said, didn't we? We said in the review he was absolutely spectacular, and I think this is the thing. It's down to Bilic really to find where his niche and where he fits into that team. It's because it's going to be difficult, because obviously his natural position is playing over on the right, and we all know that that's Antonio's preferred role. So, of course, if you're going to be playing second fiddle to someone that has deserved his starting place wholeheartedly all season like Antonio has, maybe that's the reason behind him being lazy or not wanting to do it. But the thing is, what I like about what he said was a couple of weeks after the season finished, he came out and said, look, I might have taken a while to adapt to London, but I actually want to build on a first season. And for me, that's shown the right attitude compared to someone like maybe Robert Snodgrass, who we'll talk about in a second. But I think he's shown the right attitude to actually wanting to further and help his West Ham career and his teammates next season.
Right, very quickly, he was linked more with our move away in January than he is now, but there's still some grumblings of Italy and Roma looking at him. Mike, keep him or sell him?
I'd sell him.
How much would you?
I'd be looking at 8 to 10 million around that mark.
As much as it pains me, I say pains me, but I would. something about him I like, and I'd love to put my finger on it, because I said there's some performances he's been brilliant in, and for me, again, like Nordveit, maybe one more year and see what he's got to offer.
Yeah, I'd keep him as well, but if a 10 million bid come in, I could understand why we would sell, but I would like to see him as well. Right, let's talk about the guy that plays for my country. Comes in January, a lukewarm reception from West Ham fans. I don't think I've seen anyone doing cartwheels when we announced this signing, but there's a difference between doing cartwheels, Mike, to wanting him out of the club very quickly. What side of the fence do you sit on with Robert Snodgrass?
Actually, I was really happy when we signed him.
Well, you were maybe doing cartwheels.
I wasn't. I've never cartwheeled for anyone, trust me. But I mean, no, the earth wouldn't be able to take it. But I mean, it's like, look, I was really happy when we signed him. He looked like the sort of player that might work for us. He's got he's got a really good set ball taker. He's creative. What we got was someone who didn't seem to ever want to take any kind of responsibility on the pitch. It was somebody who just did not gel or fit in with the team dynamic in any way, shape at all, and completely lacks any pace whatsoever. I didn't realise from watching Match of the Day is how we knew him from the game, but how slow the guy was. But I think the thing that wound me up the most about, and I think most people sit where I am, where I seesaw at the ground, was his complete inability to express. When a few times, I remember we were playing, he was playing down the right hand side, Leicester, I think, yeah? And we had Byron behind him, and every time he got into crossing position, he'd check back and give it to Byron to cross. He just did not want to take any responsibility. It just seemed like he was frightened to stick his head against the parapet and do something, you know?
Are you disappointed in him?
Massively. I remember when we signed him, and we all pinpointed his set piece ability and his potential.
It's part of the problem. I know we didn't necessarily mention the name there, but it's part of the problem that he took over from Payet. Is that a massive weight on his shoulders and an unfair thing to start with?
Huge weight, because obviously the owners are talking about reinvesting and buying, I guess, someone of Payet's calibre, and you end up with Robert Snodgrass, and yeah, fair enough, he looks the best player on a whole team, but that was a poor whole side, and really all we sort of saw was his clips from Match of the Day banging in 25-yard free kicks for fun. And although that's good on the eye, he just, like Mike said, he just didn't gel when he came here, and I was excited to see him, because like I said, his crossing ability from corners and set pieces, I think that was what I hoped for, was a fit Andy Carroll and a Robert Snodgrass who would be able to deliver that killer ball, and that was what I was most excited for, but we didn't see that. And it's funny because I speak to Leeds fans up in Yorkshire, and they said to me, even in the barbers yesterday, he said yeah, when you signed that Robert Snodgrass, have you seen how slow he is? And I didn't realise how flipping slow he was until we had that 2-on-1 with Ashley Fletcher, and he looked like he was running in treacle against Tottenham. He was he just hasn't fit in with the system that we play, and he looks out of place. And for me, I think he's probably, out of the three that we've spoken about, I think for me he's one that probably needs to go somewhere else in the summer.
I think the thing, if you put them together, if you put Faguli and Snodgrass together, the question you have to ask is, what is going to happen to Antonio? He is by far our best right winger. I think we agree with that, yeah? He has not played most of last season as a right winger. He's played it as a centre forward, and this is what happened last season. We had a whole season of make and mend do, mend and make do, yeah, where we've just put together a team left of who isn't injured. Do you know what I mean? And this is why Nordveit's been played out of position. It's probably why Faguli hasn't had. Well, he always has been in the right position, which is why I get annoyed with him. But I mean, ultimately, if you're looking at how we're going to play, we've got a great right winger in Antonio. If he's going to be left to be a right winger, then you're looking at definitely one of Faguli or Snodgrass.
Well, this is why this episode is called Fringe Players, Mike.
Yeah.
But it does sound like the squad balance has got more issues than the Beano, really. But Robert Snodgrass, Tom, would you sell him or would you keep him for another year? He's only been here 5. People say 6 months. It's 4 months of football, essentially. January to May is only 4 months of football, so it's not long.
I know it's not long, but I think whereas the other guys have, the likes of Faguli and Nordveit, we have seen those good games from him. I haven't seen that from Snodgrass yet, and he hasn't given me that faith that actually, you know what, he can kick on next season and actually do something. And I think, you know, like Mike said, those even during games, his attitude at times seems so poor. And obviously, with the rumours of the Burnley, he was out of the dressing room and to the car park before the game had even finished. You know, and for me, if the rumours are true and there's a bid like Brighton, 10 million, just cut our losses and hopefully, you know, just learn from our mistakes and actually reinvest that money in someone of Payet's calibre.
So is that what you want to see happen?
Yeah, out of the between, and again, like Mike said, you know, when you're left with Antonio, Faguli, and Snodgrass all sort of vying for that same sort of position, we have, you know, a plethora, I guess, of wingers or people that can play in that position. And for me, he's right at the bottom of the pecking order and going into the summer.
Mike, Snodgrass, sell or keep for another year at least?
Oh, go.
How much would you take for him?
I'd take whatever we can get for him. Anything, say, as a figure, 6 million plus.
It's a shame. It's a shame that this has happened, isn't it? He's come in. But anyway, that's it from us. We now want to hear your view. Get your camera out right now. Get your phone out. Record yourself for 60 seconds talking about one of these 3 players, what you would do, whether you want to see them sold or given more time. Maybe you think we've been harsh on them, I don't know. And send it to gonzohammerschat@gmail.com. The email address is below. We're going to piece it all together and make a video out of it on our second channel. Links below us there. Make sure you subscribe, drop a like on it if you enjoyed it, comment below, and see you on the forum at hammerschat.com. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Tom. I've been Gio. We've been Hammerschat. Thank you for watching.